All right, let's go. Q&A from my school community. This one is about mental health. So let's see. Ask me one question about how to fix mental health, anxiety, and confidence. First, let's look at the results of the poll. Let's see. I struggle with confidence and anxiety. That one has 11 votes. So about, okay, one third. Next one, I struggle with motivation and procrastination. And then the third one, I struggle with porn and IG thoughts. Okay, so most people have a procrastination and motivation issue, which is makes perfect sense. Um, a lot of ADHD slash warrior gene action here. All right, let's get straight to it. First question is from, I can never pronounce your name right. Is it Fabian or Fabian? I would say Fabian. Fabian Arroyo. All right, 6'1", 185, 25% body fat. Okay, you got to get lean, bro. 25% body fat. No bueno. Especially you 6'1", you just destroying your frame. But anyway, I struggle with motivation. I'm lazy as fuck. A slough covers more ground than me. A slough covers more ground than me. Procrastinate so bad. Total video game addict. Thanks to my father, he got me outside with his landscaping business. I try to follow your mood actions in the 5 a.m. daily routine, but fuck. So I struggle with consistency also. My motivation has improved slightly. What would you recommend, or do you need more info? No, I have everything I need because the problem that you have is shared with over 80% of men, right? Once again, guys, motivation as a male, not a woman, as a male, because remember, your brain is wired differently because of pubertal testosterone, right? The androgen receptor change your whole freaking psychology for the rest of your life. And as a male, to get maximum motivation, you need two things. You need exposure to attractive females, right? And exposure to rival males. Those are the two things that boost motivation like crazy in human males and also animals, right? Because humans are animals. So whenever 9 out of 10 times when somebody tells me I have motivation issue, I'm like, no, you don't. You do not have a motivation issue. You have an aggression issue, meaning motivation for status. And the reason why you have an aggression issue, meaning you have low aggression, you have low desire to compete for status, whatever, is because you're not surrounded by those two things. You're not surrounded by attractive women because then your brain, your amygdala will turn on and talk to your hypothalamus and whatever and increase the shit out of your dopamine and the shit out of your testosterone and ADHD to make you try to obtain that quote unquote reward, which is reproduction. So staying home all day or being in a place where you're not surrounded by hot women and saying, oh, I have low motivation. No shit, of course you have low motivation. Why would your brain give you motivation? For what? Same thing with the competition for status. If you're not surrounded by rival males who are mogging you, who are, beating you at everything, right? Why would your body give you motive? You gotta understand, motivation is actually stress. It's stress, right? It's dopamine that also converts to adrenaline and noradrenaline, right? Epinephrine and norepinephrine. These are stress chemicals, catecholamines, right? So motivation comes from pain, wanting something that you don't have. But you need to be reminded that you don't have that thing, which is why you need to be around those two things. Like I always say, testosterone is the hormone of sex and war, right? Its main goal is to make men pursue sex and combat, fighting, competition. So that's money, sports, whatever, anything that involves competition. When I say war, it doesn't mean like actual warfare. It just means competition, right? So to answer your question, if you're not surrounded by hot women on a daily basis, and you're not surrounded by rival males, meaning they have to be around your level somewhat, because if they're too far above you, you're not gonna get motivation. If they're too low beneath you, you're also not gonna get motivation. So that's why I keep saying rival males that are around your level. You're not surrounded by those two things, you fucked. And that's why I think about it. What do most men do, you know, when they're not around attractive females or rival males? What do? They play video games. That's your brain's way of finding virtual competition for status, virtual rivals. Or they chase what? Porn. That is your brain's way of trying to expose itself to virtual attractive women. See? So that's why I would say whatever you're supposed to do in the real world, if you don't do it, your brain will find a way to do it in the virtual world. And that would be porn and video game addiction, which is terrible. That's also why I say that porn addiction and video game addiction are not the issue, they're symptoms of the issue. So, yeah, you want to, and I can explain the mechanism, right? We know the mechanisms by which, being around attractive women and rival males increases dopamine and testosterone. We know the exact mechanisms. right? It all starts with obviously the amygdala. Obviously, first it starts with seeing or hearing or smelling, whatever. Sorry, I got a text. I had to take a break. Where was I? Anyway, next one. Andy, let me give you a thumbs up. These three attributes all a man needs to have unlimited confidence. One, being fit and muscular, FMI 23 plus, body fat under 15%. Two, have more money. Three, learn to fight. Um, to have unlimited confidence, no, you need something more than that. You need your triple S score, right? So you mentioned being fit and muscular, which is part of the security part of the triple S score, and it's also part of the sexiness part. You mentioned having more money, which is also part of the security part, and it overlaps into the status part. And you mentioned learn to fight, which is again part of the security part. So you're missing, the status part, which is social status, which comes mainly from having great communication skills, understanding psychology and human behavior, having game, all those things. So no, those three are not enough. Those three are, I mean, they're more than half of it. Absolutely, right? If you have those three, if you fit and in shape, you know how to fight, you have a lot of money, yeah, you have a huge advantage over most men. But you still need social status. Women scan for all three: security, status, and sexiness. So you need to have more because you can have a lot of money and have low social status. I give many different examples, right? If you're a super weird ass, like hyper geek mega nerd who cannot talk, big ass glasses, and you have $1 million, okay, are women gonna be attracted to you, right? Apart from the money, of course, no, right? You still need social skills. So I would say just add one more thing to that, which is social skills, social status. A friend group, um, know how to light up a room, know how to keep a conversation going. So it's going to be very hard to have unlimited confidence if you don't know how to act around people. All right, next. Why sometimes we overanalysis? You mean we overanalyze? So why sometimes we overanalyze things, which leads to anxiety, and sometimes we just don't give a fuck about a damn thing. How to stop overanalysis? Okay, let me give Mike a like. Previous one was from my nigga Andy, and yeah, okay. Why do we overanalyze things sometimes? Mainly, lack of competence. When you're not competent on something, you're gonna overanalyze. You don't overanalyze walking. Think about it. Now you might think, oh, that's a simple. No, no. Walking is hard. People think walking is easy. Walking is hard. Look how long it takes kids to learn how to walk. When people get, surgery or they have a stroke or whatever, and they lose their ability to walk and they're trying to relearn it, look how long it takes. People think walking is easy. You think it's easy because you've been doing it for so fucking long, right? So why is it that we don't overanalyze walking? Because we've done it for so long. We're so competent at it. We just get up and do it, right? So if you're overanalyzing something, most of the time it's because you're not competent at whatever that thing is, right? The second thing, the second reason people overanalyze things is trying to be perfect. And I hate that shit because I used to be guilty of that too. Trying to be perfect will make people overanalyze things, meaning you're already good at something and then you try to overanalyze it. What the fuck? Okay, you're trying to overanalyze because you're trying to get the perfect outcome. And I forgot who said it first, but uh, Thomas Sowell says that a lot. Perfect is the enemy of good, right? A lot of times we already know what works. We have the basics. We know what's going to get us from point A to point B, but we're trying to make it better and better and better and better, which has its place, but sometimes you end up just trying to reinvent the wheel and you end up with a square tire, right? So that's two of the biggest reasons people overanalyze. One, they're either not competent at it. In that case, it's easy. Get competent, get good, practice. The second reason is they're already competent enough. They're just trying to be perfect, which is the enemy, such a huge enemy of progress, you know. But anyway, next, it's all about Ramo. Is it all about neurotransmitters and hormones when it comes to being depressed? Or can you be depressed even if you have high dopamine, serotonin, blah, blah, blah? If one wants to fix depression, should he fix his neurotransmitters and hormones first or try to heal from the past and fix lifestyle, which of course influences hormones? Okay, so yes, at the end of the day, right? Depression, anxiety, any behavior or trait or anything that has to do with your brain, it's neurotransmitters, right? There's no way around that simply because it's the electricity, right? It's like if you have an electrical microwave, No matter what the issue is, if it's not plugged, if there's no electricity, it will not turn on, right? No matter what the issue is, you first have to make sure it's plugged in. That's the thing with depression and anxiety and ADHD and procrastination and extroversion and anything that has to do with the brain and behavior and traits, right? Comes down to neurotransmitters, because that's what, allows action potentials in your brain, and your neurons to fire, blah 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 blah, right? And obviously those are influenced by your genetics, because your neurotransmitters have to bind to receptors, and those receptors are coded by genes, right? That's also why I said at the end of the day it's all about genetics. But so yes, so it's all about neurotransmitters. Now, of course, it's different combinations of neurotransmitters that influence something. It might be a serotonin imbalance, might be a dopamine imbalance, might be both, might be an issue with vasopressin or oxytocin or norepinephrine or acetylcholine, right? But at the end of the day, it's always a neurotransmitter issue. That's why if you look at most of the drugs to treat anxiety and depression and whatever, what are they? They just mimic, they either increase neurotransmitter activation, or they increase the reuptake, or they lower the reuptake, or they bind to the receptor, or it's at the end of the day, it's all neurotransmitters, right? Look at Adderall. Look at look at Adderall for ADHD. Look at all the benzodiazepines. Look at all the GABA agonists, right? That doctors use to try to treat different conditions. All they're doing is mimicking neurotransmitters or affecting their activity. So if you want to fix an issue, well, it's going to come down to your neurotransmitters, but you also have to know, well, okay, what's causing the imbalance? Is it genetics? Is it my diet? Is it my lifestyle? Is it my exercise? For most people, after doing this for so long, for most men who are depressed or have anxiety, whatever, they're not even doing the basics, bro. And if you're not doing the basics, good luck trying to find a solution to your problem. You're going to have to be on drugs for the rest of your life, right? They're not exercising. The average man is sitting for 10 plus hours a day, when even 5 hours is a lot. They're not doing cardio. They're not doing HIIT. They're not lifting weights enough. If they are, they're not training hard. Just do the basics first, right? Don't get me started on being alone, being home all day, not having friends, not going outside, not getting sunlight, right? All of those things affect your neurotransmitters. So, and your hormones, of course. So I would say if you want to fix depression first, and I know I sound like a broken record, but trust me, I wish there was a shiny solution that worked better than the basics. If it did, I would tell you guys. In fact, that's the reason why a lot of people just hate my views and my videos and my posts, because I just repeat the basics, because they work. They work. So now as far as trauma and all that stuff, yeah, of course you're gonna have to address that. But even if you address your childhood trauma or whatever it is even if you address that, but the basics are not done, you screwed, because the basics are the foundation, right? That allow the engine to run. All right, next, almost whenever I'm doing nothing. So whenever I'm not exercising or distracting my brain and my phone, my heart rate goes up and I start stressing, especially when I go to bed. I often start worrying and overthinking about stuff around me, so it feels like I always need to get on my phone to calm myself down. Why could this be? Again, I don't know enough about you to answer that, Seagull. But again, to avoid being a broken record, first make sure that you're doing the 10 testosterone commandments. Make sure you're doing the basics. Make sure you're exercising. That's going to play a huge role in lowering anxiety. It's going to play a huge role in increasing BDNF, brain-derived nootropic factor. Do all of that, and then tell me how you feel. And you even said it, whenever I'm not exercising. See, we evolved to move, guys. The brain evolved for movement, not for thinking. People think the brain evolved for thinking. It actually evolved for movement. But that's a whole different topic. Next, will becoming better at fighting make me more confident in social situations? Absolutely. Now, it's not the only thing you're going to have to do to get better at social situations, right? You still have to practice being in social settings and practice public speaking, communication. But being able to fight, that's why I say it's mandatory for all men. Because if you look at the research is clear. One of the biggest pillars of anxiety is, believe it or not, it's a weak, I forgot what the finding was. It was weak upper body strength, which is a proxy for fighting ability. Obviously, the two are not directly related, but it's a big proxy. It's a nice proxy. So being able to fight, being able to defend yourself, has a huge role in lowering your anxiety, which will also help you be better in social settings. So if you can't fight, good luck. Going to a bar, going to a club, or going out at night, and then there's dudes who are twice your size and height walking in front of you, pushing you around. You're not gonna be comfortable in social settings, right? So anyway, next, I understand that. Who's that? Oh, let's go, Tapioca. I understand that to have confidence, you either have competence or you just don't give a fuck. But is there any way to think or act to force myself to not care about everything? I know sometimes I need to think like that, and sometimes it happens on its own. But there are situations where I can't. How do I do it? No, you can't just force yourself to not care. It's very hard to remember. At the end of the day, it goes down to the brain, right? The brain and the neurotransmitters. It's very hard to trick the brain when it comes to things like that, right? If you like, the best way to not care, like I said before, is to either be very good at something or to have failed something so many times that you realize, hey, this can't break me. Like I got rejected so many times. I've been, I hit rock bottom. I'm okay. So you can't just get up one day and just meditate and fake yourself into not giving a fuck or not having confidence. No, you know, you gotta either win a lot or lose a lot, or ideally both. Okay, so yeah, you guys are trying to avoid the painful rites of ritual. I mean, sorry, the painful rites of passage, but there's no way around. You're gonna have to fight, uh, both mentally and physically. You're gonna have to get rejected. You're gonna have to suffer in order to develop that mindset of I don't give a fuck, or that mindset of I'm unbothered. You know, the other way, which is super brutal, is to be fucking traumatized and depressed as fuck, like I was. But again, that still came from me fighting and losing a lot and winning a lot, whatever. Next, Sitting Bull. Oh shit, he got one of the AI pictures that I used to post in my. Yep, that was one of the pictures that I posted a long time ago. I got a good memory because that was a long time ago. But anyway, have a question about confidence. You mentioned that getting confident in your area of dominance will also make you confident in other things like getting girls, talking to people, etc. But how can it work like that? For example, if my area of dominance is, let's say, wrestling, if I get very competent at it, I would get confident in dealing with girls. Sounds funny to me. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know how this might help, but you mentioned it, so I'm holy shit, 6'5", motherfucker, 6'5", 213 pounds, 11 13% body fat. So yeah, so it spills over. It's a spillover effect, right? If you're really good at wrestling, obviously you're still gonna have to practice social skills in social settings, but it's gonna have a spillover effect because you know that you're good at something. The best example is if you become the fucking, I don't know, world Guinness record for, I don't know, the fastest man alive, right? That will give you some kind of confidence that will spill over even when you're talking to a woman at the bar. Because one, you know that you somebody, right? Your brain knows that you're not at the bottom of the fucking hierarchy. The brain knows. The brain is always assessing and comparing where you stand on the hierarchy, when you're in the room. So one, you know that you are somebody, you know that you accomplished something, and you also have a story to tell. You have something to talk about. That's the thing about being competent, is you always have something to talk about. The conversation is never dead, right? Because the girl will ask you questions. Oh, so what do you do? Whatever. You have something to talk about. You have stories to tell. You can talk about when you lost or when you won. Or humans love stories. So when you become really good at one thing, your ikigai, your area of dominance, right? You find your throne, the whole Team 3D Alpha thing, right? That's why I keep saying that it's gonna help you in every other area of life because you have stories to tell, right? You're gonna talk about your triumphs, your the challenges, the things, the pains that you went through, And what makes a good story is also telling people the good and the bad, right? Don't just brag and be like, oh, I want this, I want that. But being able to tell people about your failures and your flaws, that keeps the conversation going. That makes you more interesting, It makes you more mysterious. So yeah, being really good at one thing will absolutely make you more confident when you're dealing with girls. But you're still gonna have to practice, being in social settings, right? It's not like a one-to-one perfect overlap. Next, wise. How do you guys in your fucking names? Let's see. How do you personally work through trauma? Do you use journaling, and if so, how do you use it? How do you do it effectively? Second question: when you feel stuck or anxious, what coping strategies actually help you instead of just distracting yourself using bad coping habits that will ruin you in the long run. Pretty much, what's your healthy coping habit? Long story short, to answer your question, how I deal through trauma. Yeah, I journal and all that stuff, but it's just so that I could get the thoughts out of my head, and so that I could always go back and read. I also like to email myself future letters, so I will write, I will journal, and then I will email it to myself into the future. 1 year into the future, 6 months into the future, 5 years into the future, 10 years into the future. So every day I'm always getting letters from my old self, and then I see, oh wow, I came a long way. Oh holy shit, I'm still struggling with this thing. Okay, I gotta fix it now. So that's one thing that I do. But the biggest contributor to the biggest way I deal with trauma is I just channel it into rage, right? Because for me personally, and I know it works for most men, but me personally, vengeance is my everything. I love vengeance. Sometimes when everything is going well in my life, I wish somebody fucks with me just so I could have a reason to go Super Saiyan, right? And I'm not exaggerating. Like I made a video about this over 10 years ago called the Rage Bucket, right? Look it up, the Rage Bucket. I use it to this day. I need anger and rage and frustration to thrive. If I'm always winning, I get lazy, I get bored, I get complacent, and then the depression somehow comes back. So, me personally, the way I deal with my trauma is I'm always fighting. I'm always, putting myself in challenges, challenging situations because sometimes you just can't get rid of your trauma. Some people can. I can't. For me, I mean, it was my whole life, right? With the whole, shitty childhood thing and the abusive, evil mom and the lack of the father figure at home. So, and the constant bullying. So for me, I've realized a long time ago that those are things that will never fully heal, and it's okay. I don't want them things to heal because they got me this far, right? Damaged me in many ways, but I found a way to turn it into motivation and energy and dopamine. So that's how I cope. I turn it into fuel. Somebody else, I don't know, you might just need a cup of tea and a therapist and it might work. I don't know, people are different. So I'm not going to ask you to do it the way I do it, but I found that men, especially me, work better when we find a way to convert our trauma into fuel. Journaling, all that other shit, meditation, yeah, it helps, but if I have to rank them on a tier list, they're not even close to channeling trauma into success. And if you look at a lot of great people, right, they do the exact same thing. Most GOATs are traumatized. Michael Jordan, Tom Brady, fucking John Jones, Connor, Khabib. You look at most of the GOATs in their respective fields. They might not talk about a lot, but you study their biography, you study their patterns, their behaviors, you analyze the way they talk. They were traumatized. They just found a way to channel that shit. GSP, you know, Mighty Mouse, Kobe, all these motherfuckers were traumatized. They just learn how to channel it, right? So that's how I cope, man. I just try to level up. I know it sounds corny, cliched, anime, whatever, but it works for me and a lot of other people. All right, next, Caleb. In general, how do you structure your life around the warrior gene? It seems like I barely put in effort unless I'm in a situation where I'm forced to perform. Otherwise, I'm not doing anything. LOL. It sucks because I feel like I'm not living up to my true potential. For whatever reason, I'm lazy as fuck until I feel threatened. I mean, if you describe the warrior gene, you describe, for those of you guys who haven't seen my video, watch both the videos I made on the warrior gene, and it's very similar to ADHD because they have the exact same. It's the same mechanism, which is low dopamine in certain areas of the brain. And yeah, we need stress to perform. That's why even if you look at ADHD medication, what is it? It's Adderall, right? Adderall, Ritalin, whatever. What is the mechanism of action? It's increasing dopamine and norepinephrine, the catecholamines, especially norepinephrine, which is between dopamine and adrenaline, right? It's the middle step. In short, it's stress. Those chemicals give you stress. So there's no solution, my nigga. There's no solution. If you're dealing with ADHD or the warrior gene, you need constant competition, constant stress, constant feedback that you're performing well or poorly. You cannot afford to be at peace. You cannot afford to win for too long, right? I always go back to that quote from my nigga Bane, right? When he told Batman, victory has defeated you. If you have ADHD or the warrior gene, victory will destroy you. Trust me, I know. The more money I make, the more lazy I become. The more I win, the more lazy I get. So I have to create new. That's why I'm always doing a million different projects. Because now there's failure at every corner. Oh shit, this is due tomorrow. This is due the day after. Oh shit, I underperform. You know, that's also why I stay away from steroids and TRT. Because I know that's gonna make my life easier. You know, on top of the whole, my little honor code thing where da 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 da. Where I want to do it myself and blah blah blah. So you need stress. You need war. You need competition to perform. If you have the warrior gene or ADHD. And again, when I say warrior gene, I'm referring to COMT, not MAOA. Next, what were mental obstacles you had to overcome when studying content creation and education content and then posting online? Mental obstacles, to be honest, I was just broke. I started in 2011. I was just broke. But you say mental obstacles. Uh, I mean, learning to be myself, man. That was definitely a big hurdle. But yeah, I was able to, you know, I I was able to accomplish that very, very, very early. Because that's what got me very far in life, even when I was younger. Just being myself, letting people know my strengths, my weaknesses. You know, knowing that you know you're always gonna have somebody who loves you or hates you, no matter how great you are. You could be perfect. Like I say all the time, you could post a picture of a newborn cute baby, and somebody's gonna go in the comments and say, "Fuck that nigga." Right? So why do people care so much what other people think? If no matter what you do, somebody's gonna hate you, even if you're perfect. So I had to learn very early on, just be yourself. That's why I'm myself. I let everybody know what I like, what I don't like. I'm a nerd. I'll be a nerd till I'm 80 years old, you know. Whereas I see too many people on social media trying to like put on this front, trying to like, oh, act cool or whatever. Nah, fuck that, bro. You know, discuss your weaknesses openly, discuss your interests and hobbies openly. But yeah, that was definitely one of the mental obstacles. But I got past that shit really fast because I had to learn the hard way growing up that at the end of the day, just be yourself. As corny as it sounds, people are gonna hate you anyway. Next, how to gain a I don't give a fuck attitude and stop caring what others think. Well, that goes right into what I just said, right? Know that number one, know that people will shit on you and talk shit no matter what. People will find flaws with anything you say or do, no matter what. Also, love yourself, know yourself, have that I'm him mentality, even if you're not. I say that all the time, right? That's one thing I had to work on. I had to tell myself every day, I'm that nigga. Even though I knew I wasn't. I know I'm like a speck of dust, not just on the planet, but in the universe. But to have that confidence to keep fighting through my trauma and my pain and my obstacles, I had to tell myself, remind myself every day that I'm him. Even though I know logically that I'm not, but that's fine. Just keep lying to yourself, right? But yeah, to have I don't give a fuck attitude. Like I said, stop caring. I know it sounds simple, but it's kind of circular. But just stop caring, man. You're a speck of dust in the universe, and we all gonna die. We all on the plane that's gonna crash. So know who you are, know your identity, know your ancestors, know what they went through for you to be here today. Have some pride in that. Know your ikigai and pursue it. You know, fuck everybody else, man. Let's see, and also help people, man. Just help people. That gives you something to wake up to every day. Waking up, answering questions. Chasing my ikigai. That also keeps me going. You know, because it gives you a sense of purpose. Next, why is it that as kids we didn't give a fuck what people thought of us, but as adults we care so much what people think about us? Yeah, it's simple because kids know less. We know less as kids. The more you know, the more you care, right? Kids know less. Kids just know about taking a shit, eating, and running around and watching fucking, I don't know, Teletubbies or whatever. Kids know less, so they have less to worry about. Also, um, you just have to remember that as kids, not much is expected of us. We just have to do homework and listen to our parents, right? As you get older, more is expected of you. There's more comparison. Um, yeah, there's a huge difference between kids and adults, bro. But yeah, as kids, we didn't care, man. Also, to be technical, we exercise a lot as kids. Believe it or not, exercising a lot, right? Because kids run around and jump and swing, whatever. Exercising a lot lowers anxiety. I've been telling you guys for a long time. It gives you endorphins, it balances your neurochemicals, and it makes you not give a fuck. You don't believe me? Go do a brutal run or HIT session and watch how you feel when those endorphins kick in. You feel like you're on cloud nine. You feel like you don't give a fuck what anybody says. You have him syndrome. Then it wears off after a while, which is why we have to keep exercising. So that's another thing, you know. Kids run around, man. Kids burn so many calories, it'll blow your mind. But anyway, no question. Just keep going, Megan. All right. Appreciate you, Tom Butler. All right, guys. That's it. Hope this video helps. Join the school community. Hire me for coaching. Buy my ebooks. I'm out.